Archangel Michael says, the moment you opened this message, something in the unseen realm moved gently closer to your heart, as if a soft wind passed through your soul, whispering a love that has never faded, not even for a second. God wants you to know, your mother, who once held your hand, who once sang to you when the nights were long and your eyes were filled with tears, has been waiting in heaven with a message she has begged the Lord to send. She has never left your side, even when silence filled your days and pain visited your nights, even when the world felt cold and her absence seemed louder than any voice around you. She was near, watching with a love purer than anything this world could ever understand. Type "I love God" to claim abundance through God's love. Every sigh you breathed, every moment your heart ached, every time you closed your eyes hoping to feel her presence again, she saw it all. Her soul has never wandered far. In fact, heaven has allowed her to lean in close, to press her heart against yours, and to pour out the message she has carried since the day she left the earth behind. She has whispered her longing into God's hands, asking that somehow, you would feel what words could never fully carry, that you would know her voice not through sound, but through spirit, through love, through that gentle stirring that touches your spirit when you least expect it. There is something deeply sacred happening now, something unseen but real. The heavens are open, and grace is moving toward you, because this is the moment God chose to answer your silent prayers with more than comfort. He is giving you clarity, healing, and a message wrapped in eternal love. Your mother wants you to know that she sees how you've carried so much more than you should have, how you've tried to stay strong when your strength was breaking, how you've smiled for others while tears quietly gathered in the corners of your soul. She wants you to stop carrying the guilt, the regrets, and the unanswered questions that have kept your spirit tired. What if everything you've been chasing, wealth, freedom, success, could be drawn to you automatically, simply by unlocking a secret brain wave hidden inside you? Once classified by intelligence agencies, this discovery is now available to the public, and it's changing lives instantly. Picture yourself debt-free, stress-free, and thriving. Click the link in video description and comments below to awaken this money magnet frequency and watch abundance flow into your life today. She wants you to breathe deeply and listen not with your ears but with the stillness of your soul, because her words are flowing through this message like a stream from heaven's garden, calm and clear. She wants you to know that her love never ended, not even for a moment, and that not a single second passes where she does not think of you, pray for you, and ask the Father to protect you and lead you through every valley you must cross. Her message is not just comfort, it is a call to let go of the heaviness that grief has pressed upon your shoulders for so long, and to begin walking freely in the peace that God has always wanted for you. She says the tears you cried on your pillow when no one was watching were never unnoticed. Heaven saw every one of them and caught each drop as a pearl of remembrance. She says the nights when you stared at the sky, wondering if she could see you, she was right there beside you, whispering gently, though your heart was too broken to hear. She says every prayer you spoke in pain, every moment you felt forgotten, every time you blamed yourself for not being there enough or not saying enough, all of that has already been washed away by God's mercy. Type 999 if you trust Jesus with all your heart. She never held a single regret toward you, only love, only pride, only joy that she was chosen to be your mother. She says her heart rejoices every time she sees you try again, even when life knocks you down. She says her arms long to hold you again, but until that day comes, she is surrounding you in the warmth of heaven's embrace, asking the Father to wrap you in a peace so deep that even your deepest sorrow can begin to soften. She has seen the battles you've faced since she left, and she wants you to know that even in your weakest moments, you were never alone, because both God and your mother have been covering you in prayer, in grace, and in silent strength. She sees how you've tried to make sense of the loss, how you've searched for signs, how you've questioned whether she is truly okay, and her answer is simple but full of eternal truth: yes, she is more than okay. She is radiant in the presence of God, free from pain, free from sadness, filled with joy beyond understanding, and yet, her greatest joy is not in her own peace, but in the promise that you, too, will be fully healed, fully restored, and fully alive in the love of Christ. She says she does not want your life to be shaped by what was lost, but by what is still to come, because God's plan for you did not end when her earthly journey ended. It only began. She asks you to release the weight you've carried so long, not because it didn't matter, but because it matters too much to keep burying it inside your soul. She says love is not meant to be locked away in sorrow but to grow even stronger in the arms of faith. Her voice is not gone, it lives in your spirit now, and her greatest prayer is that you will walk forward knowing that love like hers never dies, never fades, and never lets go. This moment was always meant for you, carefully chosen by heaven as a doorway into something you had been unknowingly longing for, something sacred, something only God and your mother understood fully. She has watched every silent battle you faced, every moment you hid your pain behind a quiet smile, and each time your heart reached out in the darkness for something, anything, that could remind you she was still near, still aware, still loving you. And though the earth kept spinning and days passed without her voice, she has never stopped whispering to heaven about you, never stopped longing for you to know that she still holds you as tightly as ever, though now with the arms of her spirit. She remembers the way your voice would soften when you said her name, how you would sometimes pause before entering a room that once held her presence, hoping just maybe the air would feel familiar again. She has heard the prayers you could barely speak, the ones that came out more like sighs, tangled in memories too painful to explain, and in those prayers, she has found her way closer to you, not through physical touch, but through the gentle power of God's grace that allows souls united in love to remain unbreakably connected. Heaven does not forget love, and it certainly does not break the bond between a mother and her child, not when that love was birthed through God's own hands. Type 1010 to affirm that God's timing is perfect. She has been allowed to whisper your name across the gardens of eternity, and she does it often, like a song woven into the winds of heaven. Each time she does, the Lord receives her prayer with kindness, because He knows that her deepest desire has always been for your peace, your healing, and your full return to joy. Your sadness never made her love stop, and your sorrow never dimmed her pride in you. She says that even when you felt like you failed, even when you doubted your worth, even when guilt clouded your heart with questions about things you could not change, she forgave all of it long before you even asked, because she was never waiting for apologies, only for you to feel loved again. She sees the quiet strength you've shown in places where others only saw survival, and she wants you to understand that none of your pain has been wasted. Not a single tear, not a single heartbreak, not even the moments when you fell apart and wondered if God had forgotten you. All of it has been kept, held gently in the hands of your Creator, who promised never to let your suffering end in silence. Your mother wants you to hear this clearly. She has begged God to turn your mourning into purpose, to turn the emptiness you felt after she left into a deeper understanding of eternal love, and He has heard her every word. She says the dreams you had where she smiled at you or stood quietly in the distance were not just shadows of memory, they were real moments, allowed by heaven, to remind your soul that she is not lost but simply living in a place where pain has no voice and where joy sings without ending. She says every time you felt chills without reason, or warmth wrap around you in the middle of loneliness, that was her presence, reminding you she is closer than the world would ever understand. And now she wants you to stop thinking of her as gone, and begin believing that she is now part of every sunrise, every comforting breeze, every moment when peace arrives unexpectedly in the middle of your storm. She sees how hard you try to stay strong for others, how you put your pain aside just to be what others need you to be, and she says it's time for you to let God be what you need. You were never meant to carry this grief forever, never meant to live with this quiet ache as though love was something that ends. God created love to outlive the body, to survive the grave, to echo louder in eternity than it ever did on earth. And that's why she's allowed to speak now, not because she ever left, but because you were finally ready to hear again, with the ears of your spirit, not just with your mind. She says her greatest joy would be to see you smile without guilt, to see you love again without fear, to see you rest without feeling like something is missing. She says she knows you better now than ever before, because now she sees you as God sees you, whole, precious, cherished, still becoming who you were always meant to be. And she wants you to keep going. Keep trusting. Keep rising. She says not to let her memory become a chain around your heart, but instead, let it be a light guiding you into everything that still awaits you. What if the fastest path to wealth was already inside your mind, waiting to be activated by a powerful sound wave? Scientists call it the money-attracting frequency, and once awakened, it begins drawing opportunities, success, and financial freedom like never before. Imagine the relief of no more bills and the joy of living your dreams. Click the link in the video description and comments below to turn on this ancient brain wave today. She says heaven is not far, that it touches earth in quiet places, in your quiet tears, in the songs that stir something you can't explain, in the moments you pause and feel like someone is watching over you. That someone is her, and that warmth you sometimes feel for no reason is not your imagination, it's her love, and it's God's way of letting you know that you are still covered by something sacred. She ends this part of her message with a simple truth that should never be forgotten: you were loved from the first moment she saw you, and you are still loved now with the same fierce devotion, only now her love flows from a place that will never fade, never grow tired, and never let go. Type 1111 if you believe heaven is listening. Archangel Michael says, as this message continues to unfold, Heaven leans in once more, drawing closer to your spirit with gentle intention, bringing with it waves of comfort that go beyond human understanding, reaching into the places of your heart that have long remained quiet and tender. Your mother, wrapped in the beauty and peace of God's everlasting kingdom, still longs to comfort you as she once did, with a soft voice, a warm touch, and a heart full of unwavering care. Though her hands no longer hold yours in the way they once did, her spirit surrounds you like a sacred covering, and her words now flow through the grace of God's presence so they may be felt deeply, not just heard. She remembers all the little things, the quiet moments when you sat beside her without saying much, the way your eyes held so many unspoken thoughts, and the way you tried to be brave even when your heart was breaking. She sees those memories not with sorrow, but with a love so powerful it continues to speak even beyond the veil of this life. She has seen every step you've taken since she departed from the earth, and she wants you to know that no step was taken alone. When you walked through seasons that felt too dark to endure, when you smiled to hide the pain and convinced yourself to keep going because others needed you, she saw all of it, and she wept with joy that you had not let go, that you had kept walking, even with trembling feet. She has asked the Lord many times to give you a deeper peace, a peace that doesn't depend on things being fixed or people staying forever, but a peace that flows straight from the heart of Jesus Christ, the one who never leaves, the one who holds you even when no one else understands your pain. Your mother says this peace is your inheritance, something God has already placed in your life, and now it's time to let it rise within you. The sorrow that clings to your chest has stayed long enough, and the ache that often finds you in the quiet is not meant to be your companion anymore. Her message now is one of freedom, freedom from guilt, from lingering sadness, from the questions that time never answered. She says you don't need to have all the answers to be whole, and you don't need to understand why everything happened the way it did in order to begin healing. What you need, she says, is to open your heart once more to the truth that God never abandoned you, not even in your worst hour, and she certainly never did either. There were times when the heaviness was too much, when even your prayers felt dry and hollow, but she wants you to understand that in those moments, her prayers filled the gap, her love stretched beyond the heavens, and God received both your pain and her petitions with tenderness and compassion. Your mother speaks now not with the voice of sorrow, but with a voice that carries the fragrance of heaven. She says she walks in gardens of light now, where every step sings with peace, and every breath is joy. But even in that paradise, her thoughts return to you with gentleness, always. She wants you to begin living again, not just surviving, but truly breathing in the goodness of life again, opening your eyes to see beauty, even in the small things. She says you have spent enough time trying to be strong for others, and now God wants to strengthen you with something far greater than endurance. He wants to fill you with new joy, new rest, and a deeper knowing that you are still held, still cherished, and still meant for more. She asks you to stop blaming yourself for the things that couldn't be changed, to stop reliving those final days or moments with a heavy heart. She says she carries no pain, no resentment, no sorrow, only love that has grown even more radiant now that it rests in the presence of the Lord. She says her journey did not end, it transformed, and though you can no longer see her with your eyes, her presence lives in the quiet corners of your life, in the sunlight that filters through your window when you need hope, in the warmth that touches your shoulder when you're alone, in the words of a song that reaches your heart before your mind can understand why. Type 1212 if you know God is guiding your steps. She says she smiles every time you remember her with love, and even when you remember her with tears, she receives those tears not with sadness but with a mother's gratitude, because your love for her is a treasure that heaven holds dearly. She wants you to remember that death did not end what you shared, it only opened a new chapter, one written in spirit rather than time. And in that chapter, she remains your mother, your comfort, your quiet defender, speaking your name before God with joy. Let this truth sink in now like soft rain on dry ground. She is still with you, not as a fading memory, but as a living presence that walks beside your journey through the gentle permission of God's mercy. You were never meant to live in mourning forever. You were created to rise again, to smile again, to heal and move forward, not by forgetting her, but by finally understanding that she never truly left. She lives in the presence of Jesus Christ, and from that holy place, she continues to love you more deeply than words could ever hold. Archangel Michael says, when the veil between heaven and earth feels thin, it is not your imagination. There are moments when the atmosphere changes gently, when your soul becomes still without trying, when the world around you quiets, and something deep within begins to stir. It is in these moments that eternity draws near, not with noise, but with softness, not with power, but with peace. And in those still spaces, your mother has often been allowed to come closer, her presence wrapped not in shadows but in light, her love moving through the unseen as tenderly as it did when she sat beside you on the longest days of your life. She knows that healing has been slow, that some wounds do not bleed but ache in silence, and she wants you to stop feeling like you're supposed to have already moved on. She knows how you've carried her memory with both joy and pain, how you've smiled for others while your own heart remained fragile, and she wants to tell you that God has seen your silent endurance and is preparing a season where heaviness begins to lift from your shoulders. The ache that has stayed hidden for so long is now being touched by His hand, and through this very message, something sacred is being stirred inside of you, a quiet awakening, a gentle renewal, a return to the hope you thought had grown too distant. Your mother wants you to know that she has not missed a single part of your life since the day she left her body behind. She has stood beside you during every turning point, watched over you in moments you thought no one saw, and she has prayed constantly that the Lord would gently bring you to this moment, when her message could finally be received with the tenderness it was always meant to carry. There are no conditions in her words, no judgments, no demands, only love. A love that has remained whole, unshaken, and alive, held in the eternal hands of the Savior who promises that nothing pure is ever lost. She has seen the moments when you almost spoke to her out loud, but held it in. She felt the longing you buried beneath your daily responsibilities, the need to feel her nearness, and the ache that came in waves when something reminded you of her voice, her laugh, or the way she once made everything feel safe. She says you never have to hide that longing again, because the distance you feel is not what it seems. Heaven is closer than your pain has allowed you to believe, and the arms of God are reaching for you not to pull you backward, but to draw you into a deeper place where healing is no longer delayed. Type 1313 to affirm strength through the Lord. Your mother remembers the last time she looked at you, and she carries that image with her in eternity, not one marked by sorrow, but by love, sealed in grace. She says she wants you to stop replaying the hardest moments, to stop trying to rewrite what has already been wrapped in God's mercy. You did enough. You were enough. And everything that felt unfinished, unsaid, or undone has already been restored in the presence of Christ. There are no regrets in her spirit now, only praise, only peace, only the longing to see you walk forward with the lightness she knows your heart deserves. She tells you this not just as your mother, but now as someone who sees clearly what once seemed hidden. She sees how hard you've tried to be brave. She sees how you've carried others, often without letting them see how much you still needed carrying yourself. She sees how sometimes you feel like you're holding everything together, when inside you wish someone would hold you, even for a moment. And now she wants to tell you that God has always been holding you, always, even when you didn't feel it, even when the world felt far too loud and your soul too quiet to pray. She wants you to start looking forward again, not with fear or pressure, but with peace, with trust, with the quiet confidence that the Lord who brought you through the hardest chapters has already written pages ahead filled with grace. Your life is not paused in grief, it is slowly being lifted into something new, something holy. She asks that you stop seeing her passing as an ending and begin seeing it as a doorway through which a different kind of closeness has been born, one that exists beyond touch, beyond time, beyond earthly limits. What if you could unlock a secret brain wave that top scientists discovered inside the hippocampus, the very switch that signals wealth and abundance? Hidden from the public for decades, this breakthrough can rewire your mind to attract prosperity faster than you imagined. Picture the stress of bills replaced with financial freedom and new opportunities. Click the link in the video description and comments below to activate this ancient money wave and step into abundance today. She says the dreams God has placed in your heart are still alive, and He has not forgotten any of them. You are not too late, and you have not missed your moment. She wants you to take that truth into your spirit, because she has been watching, and she knows how often you've questioned your purpose since she left. She says you still carry light within you, and that light is needed, not just by those around you, but by you. You were not created to walk in constant remembrance of loss, but to walk with the strength that comes from knowing love is still with you, and God has never stopped working on your behalf. Let this be the moment where peace is allowed to bloom again, not because everything makes sense, but because you are no longer walking alone. You are walking with her prayers around you, with God's hand upon you, and with heaven cheering for the healing that is now beginning to awaken inside your soul. Archangel Michael says, there are moments in this life when the heart becomes quiet enough to feel what words could never truly explain, and this is one of those moments. Heaven is leaning closer now, not to remind you of what you've lost, but to show you all that still surrounds you, the love that has never left, the prayers that still rise on your behalf, and the gentle echo of a mother's devotion that has followed you like a steady rhythm through every twist and turn of your journey. The Lord has allowed her to speak through these sacred words, not from a distance, but from a place so close it brushes the edges of your soul, reminding you that the greatest love stories never truly end. Your mother has seen how hard it's been to carry your pain in silence, especially in the moments when everyone else expected you to have already healed. She knows how often you've had to pretend that you were okay just to make others comfortable, how often you've smiled while your spirit quietly longed for rest, and how often you've carried the weight of things you could never explain out loud. But now, through God's mercy, she is being given this chance to tell you something sacred. Your sorrow is not a burden you were meant to bear alone anymore. Type 1414 if you believe in divine protection. She wants you to know that heaven has watched over every part of your life with tender care. Not one detail has been overlooked. Not one silent prayer has been missed. Not one lonely evening has passed without her presence gently hovering nearby, praying you would sense even a hint of the nearness she still offers. And now, because your heart is open and your spirit is listening, she is finally able to share what she's been longing to say, that it's okay to rest now. It's okay to let go of the fear that keeps you holding everything together so tightly. It's okay to stop proving your strength and start accepting the comfort that God has been trying to give you all along. Your mother says she has seen the way you've tried to hold your memories in place, afraid they might slip away if you stop grieving. But she wants you to understand that what is truly sacred can never be erased. Her love for you was not built on days and hours, but on something deeper, something eternal, something God Himself placed between your hearts. That love did not dissolve when she stepped into eternity. It grew stronger, wiser, more complete, and now it reaches for you with clarity and peace. She says she wants her memory to be a gift, not a wound. A light, not a weight. A source of hope, not pain. She's watched the way your heart responds to certain smells, songs, and places, the unexpected moments that stir emotions you thought were hidden away, and she wants you to know that many of those moments were not coincidences. They were her, lovingly allowed by God to remind you that she is never truly gone. When you've walked into a quiet room and suddenly felt warmth, or when the wind touched your face and made you stop for no reason, she was there, not as a ghost, not as a shadow, but as a soul alive in Christ, standing in the thin place where heaven meets your world. She has prayed that you would begin to see yourself not just through your own eyes, but through the eyes of God, the same God who called you His beloved, who chose you for this time, who sees in you something sacred and powerful even when you feel weak. She says you have spent too many days doubting your worth, questioning your steps, and worrying if you've disappointed her. But her answer is simple and full of grace: you never have. You were her joy. You are still her joy. And everything she could not finish while she was with you, she has trusted into God's hands, believing with all her heart that He would continue shaping your path with kindness and purpose. She says it's time to forgive yourself. Time to forgive the moments that didn't go the way you hoped, the conversations you never got to have, the chances you feel like you missed. She's not holding on to those things, and you don't need to either. God has already covered them with mercy. And now, He's asking you to let that mercy reach your own heart. This message is not only from her, but from the one who holds her now, the same one who holds you. He is asking you to believe that joy is still possible, that peace is still yours, and that you are still deeply loved, not just by her, but by the one who gave you both to each other in the first place. Let your soul rest in this truth now. There is no distance in love when it is rooted in Christ. Your mother has not faded, she has been transformed. Her presence has not vanished, it has shifted into something even more beautiful, something that can reach across time, across sorrow, and into this very moment, where you are being gently reminded that you have never been abandoned. You have always been surrounded by love. Type 1515 to receive peace in your soul today. Archangel Michael says, as you receive this next portion of the message, let your heart remain open, like a garden welcoming sunlight after a long night of stillness. You have walked through much, carried more than most will ever know, and yet here you are, still standing, still breathing, still reaching for something that feels whole and good and sacred. That reaching, though quiet and tender, has not gone unnoticed by heaven. It has stirred something in the throne room of God, and your mother has been one of the first to kneel in response, asking the Lord to wrap you in a presence so peaceful that even your soul exhales. She wants you to know that there are things she understands now, things she never saw clearly while walking this earth. From her place in eternity, she sees the pain you didn't speak about, the pressures you quietly endured, and the kindness you gave to others when your own heart was running on empty. She sees it all now, not as a faded memory, but as a living truth. And it fills her with awe. She says she marvels at the strength you carry, not the loud kind that demands attention, but the quiet kind that keeps showing up, even when no one is watching. She has walked through fields of light that words cannot fully describe, touched by a joy that flows like music from the heart of God Himself. Yet, even in all that wonder, her thoughts return again and again to you. She has asked God to allow her to speak something that reaches past your walls, past your doubt, and straight into the center of your being, that you are not broken beyond repair, not forgotten, not invisible, and not alone. She says you are still wrapped in the same love that held you the day you first opened your eyes, a love that has only grown deeper now that it flows from a heart made whole in heaven. What if a simple 7-minute sound frequency could awaken a forgotten brain signal designed to pull wealth toward you like a magnet? Backed by shocking CIA files and neuroscience, this discovery is now changing lives everywhere. Think of debts melting away, promotions arriving, and abundance flowing freely. Click the link in video description and comments below to experience the hidden wealth wave and let your financial destiny shift in your favor today. She wants you to stop believing that your best days are behind you. She knows you've questioned that more than once, especially in the quiet hours of the night, when memories flood in and the silence feels too heavy. But God has been writing something beautiful for you, even when you couldn't feel the ink flowing. He has been building strength in your spirit, preparing places of joy, making a way where there seemed to be none. Your mother says the tears you've cried in secret have not disappeared into the air. They have watered the soil of your future, and heaven has kept each one as a testament of your endurance. She says there's no need to fear what comes next. You've already walked through shadows that would have broken many, and yet you remained. Not because you had all the answers, but because somewhere deep within, you held on to the smallest thread of hope. And that thread, though small, was sacred. It was where God placed His promise, and it was where your mother's prayers continued to rest. She wants you to understand that hope is not weak, and faith is not a fragile thing. They are the language of heaven, and your spirit has been speaking them all along, even when your voice was quiet. She says she's watched you carry your responsibilities with grace, even when your heart felt overwhelmed. She has seen the way you've poured into others, even while wondering if anyone saw how empty you were becoming inside. And now she says it's your turn to be filled. God is calling you into a season of restoration, not just in your body, but in your emotions, in your dreams, in the places you stopped believing could ever come alive again. Your mother wants you to know that she is standing in agreement with heaven, asking that every dry and tired place within you be made new. She speaks to you now with the softness of a mother's love, but also with the wisdom of someone who has seen eternity. And what she sees is this: you were made for more than surviving. You were created to live fully, to breathe deeply, to laugh again, not just sometimes, but often. You were made to build, to love, to rest without fear, and to rise each day knowing that heaven rejoices over your life. She wants you to stop settling for a half-hearted kind of healing. You deserve complete restoration. You deserve to feel joy without guilt. You deserve to receive the beauty that God still has in store for you. Type Amen if you surrender fully to God's will. She says her voice now belongs to a greater song, one that flows from the heart of God and surrounds you even now. And in that song is your name, sung with affection, spoken with reverence, held with hope. She no longer worries for you, not because she's forgotten your pain, but because she has seen the ending God is preparing, and it is good. Better than what you've lost. Deeper than what you've missed. Brighter than what you imagine. And she will be there, always, in spirit, in memory, in moments of quiet peace, cheering you on with the love that never ends. Archangel Michael says, "The light of heaven does not come to you in storms or noise but arrives gently, in ways that the soul can receive without fear. It brushes across your life like dawn breaking softly after a long night, filling shadows with a glow that does not demand, but invites." In that light, your mother has been waiting, carrying words she has longed for you to hear, words born not from sorrow but from love that has only grown more radiant since she entered the presence of the Lord. She has begged heaven for this chance, not because she fears you have forgotten her, but because she longs for you to remember her in truth, not through pain, but through peace. She says she has seen how often you replay the moments you wish you could change, the things you wish you had said, the time you believe was too short. And with a heart overflowing with mercy, she tells you now that all those regrets are unnecessary, because she carries none of them. She remembers only the love, the laughter, the quiet companionship, the way you brought light into her days. She says she is not watching your life from a place of disappointment or sorrow, but from a place of joy, where her prayers for you rise like incense before God's throne, every single day, without fail. Your mother wants you to see your life through a different lens now, one not clouded by absence but illuminated by presence. She says the love that tied you together on earth has not unraveled, it has been woven tighter in the hands of God. The connection you feel when you least expect it, the warmth that spreads through your spirit, the sudden peace in the middle of your worry, is not your imagination. It is her love, carried by grace, reaching you in the ways heaven allows. She says she wants you to lean into those moments, not dismiss them, for they are reminders that you are not walking this journey without her prayers at your side. What if the missing piece to financial success wasn't luck, but a hidden frequency inside your brain waiting to be switched on? Once activated, this ancient signal unleashes waves of prosperity, opening doors to opportunities you never thought possible. From sudden windfalls to long-awaited breakthroughs, it's transforming lives daily. Want to see how? Click the link in the video description and comments below to tap into the money magnet brain wave and begin your journey today. She speaks with gentleness now, telling you that you have always been more than enough. Even in your weakness, even in your struggles, even when you've questioned your worth, she has never doubted who you are. She says God created you with a strength that others cannot always see, but she sees it clearly now, shining like fire in your spirit, even when you feel tired. She says you need to release the belief that you must always be perfect or strong, because God has never asked that of you. He only asks you to remain open, to keep walking, and to allow His love to fill the places that feel empty. She says she rejoices every time she sees you choosing to love, even when you've been hurt. She rejoices every time you show kindness, even when you're weary. She rejoices when you keep holding on to faith, even if it feels fragile. And she rejoices most of all when you simply keep breathing, when you choose to stay, when you choose to rise another day despite the heaviness that sometimes lingers. She says you are her victory, her joy, her eternal gift from God, and she will never stop speaking your name in heaven with gratitude. Type 1717 to affirm your life is in God's hands. She has seen you search for signs, and she says many have already been given. The unexpected moments of comfort, the dreams where she appeared, the times you felt a hand upon your shoulder when no one was there, these were her prayers finding their way into your reality. She says more signs will come, not because you need proof, but because God is kind, and He delights in reminding His children that love never dies. She asks you not to cling in desperation to these moments, but to receive them with peace, letting them become gentle confirmations that heaven and earth are not as far apart as they seem. She wants you to know that she is at rest, more alive now than ever before, and she longs for you to live with that same freedom. She says your story is far from finished, and she has seen glimpses of what lies ahead for you, moments of joy, relationships filled with love, days of laughter that will return like sunlight after rain. She says you may not see it yet, but God has already written chapters that will bring healing in ways you cannot imagine. She asks you to trust, not in your own strength, but in the love of Jesus Christ, the one who holds her and holds you in the same embrace. She says to carry this truth with you: she is not far, she is not silent, she is not gone. She is closer than you think, woven into the breath of God that sustains your life, standing in the unseen but very real place where heaven brushes against earth. And in that closeness, she whispers again what she has always wanted you to know, that you are loved with a love that cannot be broken, not by time, not by distance, not even by death. That love lives on, eternal and unshaken, a love that will guide you until the day you are reunited in the fullness of God's glory. There is a kind of peace that does not come from the absence of pain but from the presence of God in the middle of it. This peace has been waiting for you, moving quietly through the places of your life that have been touched by loss, waiting for the moment when your heart would be ready to receive again. And now, because heaven has heard both your prayers and your tears, this peace is flowing toward you like a river, gentle, steady, healing. Your mother has asked the Lord for this, not just once, but again and again, longing for the day when your soul would feel light again, not because the past is forgotten, but because it has been fully held in grace. She wants you to know that her love for you has not been paused by eternity. It continues in ways more powerful than you've ever known. She says she now sees clearly what she once only hoped was true, that every act of love you gave her, every word, every moment of care, even the small ones you might not remember, are eternal treasures. In heaven, nothing pure is wasted. And what you gave her in love while she was here is now part of the everlasting beauty she carries in her spirit. You gave her more than she ever asked for, more than you knew, and she wants you to stop wondering if it was enough. It was. It always was. She sees how you've tried to remain faithful, even when the silence of grief made it difficult to pray. She says God saw it too, and never once did He count your sorrow as distance from Him. In fact, He moved closer in those moments, listening not only to the words you spoke but to the ache beneath them. She says you don't need perfect words to be heard. Your sighs were prayers. Your pain was seen. And every time you whispered her name into the silence, heaven received it like a melody of love. She remembers how you used to look at her, not just with your eyes, but with your heart, how even in simple moments, there was a deep bond that words could never quite carry. That bond has not broken. She says it has deepened. It now exists in a place where time does not limit it and where God has sealed it with a promise that nothing pure shall ever be lost. She says you may not always feel her near, but she has never been far. Her spirit stands just beyond the veil, close enough to see you, close enough to whisper your name into God's hands every day. Type 1818 to claim miracles and breakthroughs. What if you discovered a tiny, walnut-sized brain region holds the secret to endless wealth and success? Recently uncovered by groundbreaking research and once buried in classified files, this frequency is now available to anyone ready to listen. Imagine replacing worry and struggle with a life of financial ease and freedom. Interested? Click the link in video description and comments below to unleash this hidden brain wave and start attracting wealth right now. Amen.